Hello everyone, today we are going to be breaking down the Splatoon Iceberg. I got this idea from all of the icebergs in my recommended, and I thought, there's not really a whole ton of Splatoon icebergs out there, so I thought I'd break down the iceberg of my favorite game. So today we're going to be looking at part 1 of I believe 6, and in part 1 of 6 we are going to do the first top 2 layers, the sky and the tip of the iceberg. Let's get right into it. Corporatism in Inkopolis is kinda just the general idea that there are tons of brands everywhere in the Splatoon world, like Firefin. That's really the only one I know off the top of my head, but I don't know why this is on here to begin with, but it's kinda just made to mimic the real world, where if we have like Nike and Adidas, they have their own Splatoon brands and clothing and weapons and all sorts of gear to go off of that stuff. Inkopolis Plaza Tower can be seen in Inkopolis Square. There's not much to this one. If you go over to the opposite end of the map where you start the Octo expansion campaign and look at it from a certain angle, you can see the original Inkopolis Plaza Tower in Inkopolis Square. It's only a few blocks away. Squid Sisters waving at player. There's not much to this one either. If you stand by the Squid Sisters or off the hook long enough, they'll eventually wave at you, and that's it for that one. Chinese mobile ripoffs. So there have basically been ripoffs of Splatoon released on mobile by Chinese companies just trying to make a quick buck, and here are some images of that. There's also one Splatoon ripoff that was actually released on the Nintendo Switch, and it is called Ninjala. Tofu and Rabbits were the original characters in development. This is kind of more well known, which is why it's at the top of the iceberg. But in early development, before the Splatoon devs knew they were going to use squids to shoot ink for some reason that took them a long time to figure out, they actually used blocks of tofu and rabbits. Rabbits because they were naturally territorial creatures. Blocks of tofu, I have no idea why. Tiny animation and sunken scroll pages. This really refers to, in the Splatoon 1 sunken scrolls in the bottom right corner, there was a little zapfish that would spin around if you flipped through the pages fast enough, making like a little... You ever seen those things in sticky notes where they draw something, they flip through them? Like a flip book. Yeah. We Bear Bears promotion. This one actually taught me something that I didn't know before. So when Splatoon 2 launched, there was a We Bear Bears ad promoting Splatoon 2, where a bunch of the characters in that show were all facing off together. I'm not going to put the whole thing in here because I'm worried about copyright, but I will leave a link to it in the description. You should go check it out. It's actually pretty cool. Inklings and Octolings can't swim on water, even though they are based off sea creatures. This is the whole idea that when you fall in the water in a Splatoon map, you drown. And that's kind of based off the idea that since Inklings and Octolings evolved out of the water and onto land, they don't go back in the water. It's not like, there's the idea that it's poisonous to them, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, it's based off the idea that since they're ink, they'll dissolve in water, but their bodies aren't like actually ink. They have fleshy bodies. I think probably some Inklings know how to swim, they just don't do it. But there's another theory that there's a type of hippo, and it evolved on land, but then went back into the water. So maybe that's the reasons Inklings and Octolings can't swim, but who knows? I don't think we've gotten a direct confirmation on why yet. Maybe we'll see something like that in a sequel. The Inkling skull bandana actually brings up a really weird continuity error, because the Inkling skull bandana actually shows what would be the outline of an Inkling mouth if it was just bones. However, it's been confirmed before that Inklings don't really have bones, so I guess hopefully we get an explanation one day? I'm pretty confused at this one. So the Octoling bonus track is actually something really confusing that I'd never heard of until now. So on the physical release of Octotune, you can hear Pearl and Marina recording into the light, but they're talking about something before and after it, and eventually some Inkling or Octoling swims in, and then later you hear Captain Cuttlefish talking. Since there's no real way to translate what they're saying, I don't think we'll ever know. Flying Zapfish is about how sometimes, apparently, the great Zapfish can be seen flying through the air in Ankopolis Square. I've never had an instance of the game where I've seen that, but apparently other people have, so I don't know, maybe it can fly or something. The final part of the sky is the Splatoon 1 apartment, and what this talks about is how when launching Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, it would start off in a place that kind of looked like an apartment with Splatoon themed items everywhere, like Callie and Marie stickers and a splatter scope. So, I don't know. People still want apartments in the game, so I think that's what this is all about. First off on the tip of the iceberg is real birds and insects. So, in some maps, you can actually find birds flying around, as well as in Ankopolis Square. Not sure about the plaza though, because I'm a pleb who didn't actually play Splatoon 1, because I didn't fall for the Wii U scam. But you can find real birds flying around in some maps, and there's not really too much exciting about that, since the world flooded and that's what started Splatoon. It kind of makes sense that birds could have survived going up on like some sort of mountain or something and living out there, but maybe where insects come in is because what did the birds eat for like thousands of years before Splatoon started? So maybe that's what the insects part is about, but you can find birds flying around. Ankopolis Plaza Out of Bounds glitch is exactly what it sounds like. It's just you glitching between a wall to go see out of bounds areas in Ankopolis Plaza. You can go in all the stores, you can check out the battle plaza, but if you step in the wrong area, you'll fall out of the world and just respawn at a normal spawn point. Oh boy, this one's a doozy. Players named Free Melee caused an official tournament to cancel. So if you were unaware, there was a Smash Melee tournament that was happening online, and it was using a plugin called Skippy. And this made Nintendo send out a cease and desist order to the people who made Slippy. But without Slippy, you couldn't play online Melee very well. Like, playing Melee with Slippy is better than playing Ultimate with Nintendo's online service. That's how bad Nintendo's is really. But this made people in the Melee community start saying hashtag free Melee to get Nintendo to lay off and let the Melee community play their game. So people in the Splatoon community, I don't know which team actually was having free Melee in their names, but there were teammates in the Splatoon tournament that were noticed by Nintendo and then canceled the live stream and just played it offline. Not offline, but without a stream. And this caused the hashtag free Splatoon outrage because Splatoon tournament got canceled because of having the name Free Melee in their games. So yeah, it's basically Nintendo just screwing up and then causing a bigger screw up, and instead of acknowledging they were wrong, made the problem even worse, like, Nintendo normally does. Human skeletons and sunken scrolls. So really what this refers to is in one of the sunken scrolls in Splatoon 1, there is a skeleton of a guy playing Splatoon 1 on a Wii U, where the sunken scroll talks about how they think he's doing some religious act. Although it doesn't really make any sense why they would say that, because they clearly still have video games in Splatoon, and we can see that in all of the games that you could play before matches in Splatoon 1 and Squid Beats 2. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me how they got that all confused. This next one should honestly probably be a little deeper on the iceberg than what it actually is. This one is City of Bluefin Depot is abandoned, and this one brought me down quite the rabbit hole. So this led me to a Reddit page called I think Bluefin Depot is more than just abandoned. And what it actually talks about is this place called Hashima Island. I'm not good with Japanese names, but so basically this island was a coal mining island, but as petroleum took over, it became less and less used. Eventually it was abandoned. And the idea is that where Bluefin Depot takes place is the same location. Is this the same city that we see there? Who knows, man, but I think this is a little cool rabbit hole to go down to, and I recommend you guys to explore it more yourselves if you're interested in this. Squid Research Lab gear in Splatoon 1 test fire. There's not much to this. The gear eventually becomes available in Splatoon 2 through Grizco, but in the original game, during the test fire, devs for the Splatoon team would wear black sunglasses in the lab coat, and if you ran into someone wearing this, you would know they're a dev during the global test fire on the Wii U. Calamari Incantation Splatoon 1 Final Fest. There's really not much to this one. So Calamari Incantation played in the Final Fest of Splatoon 1. It's not really a big deal. They did this in Splatoon 2 as well with Spicy Calamari Incantation. It's just kind of the whole fun idea. There's another song in there for the Final Fest. That's all for that one. Pearl and Marina are possibly lesbians. I think this is more of a probably than a possibly due to the ending of Octo Expansion and some of the dialogue she has with Pearl when talking about Splatfests. So, yeah, okay. I think that's more probably than possibly. They just haven't said anything about it yet. Maybe we'll hear something about it in a sequel. I'm sorry, something about the concept of gay squids just sounds a little funny to me. This is probably the coolest thing I've seen on this iceberg so far. So, apparently Pearl was originally intended to be an Octoling, so Pearl and Marina could be the opposite of Callie and Marie, Squid Sisters and Octo Sisters. But this was changed to the design we have now, and now we're stuck with Pearl's beautiful, lovable forehead, rather than super cool rockstar Octoling Pearl. But whatever, it's totally fine. Alright, that wraps up part 1 of the Splatoon Iceberg. So, please leave a like and a comment below. Subscribe, please help out the new channel. And I'll see you back here in a few days with part 2. Thanks, see you next time.